Hello everyone, it's Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous here with a review of the F7C M. Now that the holiday season is over, I am able to sit back and start doing my videos on a regular schedule again. Thank you so much for bearing with me as I did what I needed to do to make my hard-earned cash. Today, we're going to be talking about the F7C M Super Hornet, and this is a spacecraft that has a couple of things in lore that actually are, well, let's just say a little bit contradictory at times, but definitely supporting what's going on in the game universe. Let's just start off by saying that this is not the military version of the F7. The F7A is a military version of the Hornet and has much better systems inside for which you can target and you can manage your power and defenses. Everything about this fighter had to be reverse engineered for civilian use. And the reasoning was that outlying UEE systems, they were getting hit hard by Vandal raids, and the current complement of militia forces that was made up primarily of cutlasses was unable to stem the tide of the attack, the attacks and the raids that were going on by the Vandal. So they had a long discussion inside of the UEE Congress and decided that they were going to let the companies like Anvil, Aegis Dynamics, and others make military spacecraft as long as everything was reverse engineered and it was not the military equipment, so it didn't fall into the hands of the Vandal and other people that might use it for bad things. Thus, we got the F7C. The F7C has many different variants. This is the F7C M. It's a two-seater. And it adds the turret. This is the closest thing to a military version you're going to get. Now in the brochure, it does not, it specifically says that this is an option that you could add later. We, however, are getting it here to use in our foray into battles inside of the Arena Commander module. So we're going to go through and we're going to look at a couple of different things. They've got some Talon missiles over in the sides, which you can't see because they're pushed in. We've got a couple of, I guess these are the CF-007s. Up top, you should have the CF-117s. You can replace the CF-007s on the wings for the 227s, but you do not have the upgraded power plant to be able to handle that. Here we see the jointed Anvil maneuvering jets. I think that's actually the power plant. It looks like a couple more maneuvering jets. It might be the cooling unit. I'm not sure yet. Really pretty. Lots of work went into this particular model, you can tell. And then when I visited CIG last year, the inside of the framework of the canopy was being worked on by Chris Smith, and it was quite impressive. Here we have that very large HE 5.3 propulsion unit. It's a main thruster. Of course, you can go up to a tier 4 in this. More of the jointed maneuvering jets. And there's that chin turret that I was talking about, the canard turret. That definitely would not be there. We're going to step in at this particular point. There is no way to get in the back of the ship. You're just going to sit in the front. And let's go in and let's take a look around, okay? And there's all that framework. Look at the detail of it. I'd say it's about 10 times as much detail as any of the other sims that you could play. I mean, when they're getting in the wiring and just different pieces of the... I mean, look at this. It's just gorgeous. You have a nice all-around view here. Being a military craft that's supposed to take a lot of hits, you're using a reinforced panels, glass panels, and the framework is actually there to lay them inside of. Even with the panels, even with the framework, you still have great all-around visibility. And the HUD does a great job of making up for the pieces that are in your way. Right now, you have all of the animations done in this ship. It's not exactly where I want it. I would have expected yaw to be in the foot pedals, but I guess not. Really nice, right? Really nice view. Let's go external. There's that big turret up top that you only get in the F7C M. You could purchase it as a add-on, as an option later on in the game if you want to for the F7C. Just great detail work, and there's a couple more of the maneuvering jets. These, and there's two more behind these doors right here, one on this side, one on the other. Let's try to see if we could see that back seat. It's tough to see. In the beginning, a long time ago, we were actually able to sit back there. Now, you're going to be able to assign seat actions to that seat in version 2.0 of Arena Commander. That person could work the top turret or be your targeting person working the missiles, or somebody working quite a number of different systems. Hornet has a very B look to it with the tail and the Stinger being the engine. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to make some changes to the key mapping here because I have just reinstalled the game. And I'm going to be using my X55, but I do not do the base configuration. I, for one, am not able to figure out which way to turn. I don't like yawing. Yaw just drives me crazy. So I come down here, I change my axes. So the yaw axis is the twist on my stick, and the roll axis is going to be the X, which is going side to side. Okay, let's get into a battle and start talking about the ship itself. So here we are inside the Hornet, inside of Arena Commander. I'm going to be doing another Vandal Swarm. I'm not doing any of the player versus player games for my reviews because they're much more unpredictable and you spend a lot of time being blown up or, well, chasing people around. Vandal Swarm gives you at least 6 or 7 different levels with which you can capture some really good explosions and really good kills. Once you get to level 8 or 9, it gets a little bit more difficult. So in the beginning here, I'm not really trying to get anybody. What I'm trying to do is show the basic maneuverability of the jet, of this spacecraft. It's a little bit more sliding around, kind of like a drifting car in one of those games. And you have to use the boost on the thrusters, which used to be the afterburner. I kind of wish they had boost and afterburner. That afterburner could only get you about 10 or 15% above your top speed, and that the boost actually would work also to boost your maneuvering jets. If you look, I'm flying with comm stab off, and that is going to make it a lot easier for me to pull some great maneuvers. But as I slide around, I'm going to hit the boost to try to get me pointed in the right direction. Helpful safety tip here, if you ever get knocked around and you're spinning and spinning in space, hold down the boost button, it will straighten you out. I think there is a key also, like space or something, that if you could hit that, that's going to be able to straighten you out. I'm not a mouse and keyboard person. I use the X55 joystick and throttle HOTAS system, so most of my keys are bound to things on the actual throttle and stick. Little thing over here, I'm using the L key to turn on one of the modes so I can get more hits on here. But still, even with this, until I realize that I can actually hit the magnification a little bit, which would slow down my jerky maneuvers and make them a little bit more fluid, I was finding it a little bit difficult to line the pipper up on the target. One of the key things to talk about here is how quickly these weapons do overheat. Make sure you're taking short bursts, just like they did in real life when you were firing real machine gun weaponry, or even something like a Vulcan 20mm cannon or the 30mm cannon on a A10. You don't want to hold that trigger down. It will overheat the weapons and potentially blow them up on your wing and take parts of your ship with them. Short bursts are also much more accurate. And for those of you that are using ballistic weapons, it will also help to conserve ammunition. Remember, it only takes a few good shots to take out one of the Vandal, and sooner or later you'll learn where to shoot. I always try to shoot for the cockpit, or just behind the cockpit where most of the systems are, or at least it seems that they are. Something else to note about the Hornet is it could take a ton of damage. And because of that, you may get a little bit overzealous and a little bit arrogant in your attacks. Remember, as you start taking damage and as the game goes on, the systems in the ships are going to be modeled better. So you have a couple of pipes that go on in the system. You have a CPU pipe that deals with all of the electronics type systems like weapons, countermeasures, and of course targeting, those type of things. If you start taking hits in that pipe, you're going to get a well, you're eventually going to have it very difficult to lock on to different targets. The other pipe, I think there is a cooling pipe or something similar to that. Once that is gone, it is almost impossible for you to fire your weapons for more than 2 or 3 tenths of a second before they start to overheat. You can see me firing quite a bit over here on the on this target, and as I'm doing that, you can see the weapons are starting to overheat pretty quickly. Some upgrades that you might want to get in this particular spacecraft are definitely going to draw away from the system speed. Remember, he's got this rob Peter to pay Paul type thing, so when you take away from one system, it's going to inhibit that system. In other words, when say you build up your ability to put weapons on here that you could just hold the trigger down on, it's probably going to diminish one of 3 things. Either your computer systems, your power systems, or your shield system. It's always going to have a negative effect to something else. That isn't the case, I believe, if you're going to modify, upgrade, or overclock your weapons or systems. The negative effect those will have, the detriments, will be that they might just stop working, or you might have a catastrophic failure if you overdo it too much. Okay, so this is the F7C M. Let's go and see if we can find some really cool things that were going on in this ship as we go further on. Let's go find some really taking damage pieces. I think I have to go up to probably 7 or 8 for that. I fast forwarded over to level 6 because I think that there's a situation here. Yep, there it is. You can see right after I took out I think it was the priest, all of a sudden everybody just started firing at me, and it did take me down pretty fast in some of the capabilities of my ship. I now only have 2 of the weapons working. I'm going to try to fire my missiles on this guy, and it's just not working. So when you do suffer damage, there are going to be detriments to the way that things work. Well, we did wind up taking that guy out with a missile. I apologize. But that's just something I wanted you to see. The other piece of it is you start having issues with trying to control your ship. And this is one of those things. My boost just wasn't working. I'm going to take some more hits over here. There I go. There are some kind of physiological aspects of flight. What I'm talking about is G-forces, and when you bang into things, you can be knocked out. And if you're knocked out, it's going to give an opportunity for whoever's on your tail to take you out. See this? Just not working so well. The boost is not taking me out of these slips and slides as fast as they were before. Just something to keep in mind. You might go, wow, this is going to be a nice fighter to fly aggressively. Let's take a look at it. You can see different parts of my ship. Look at the damage model on this. It's just incredible. You can see parts of the engine just totally falling apart. The landing gear, but you know, some of the damage model doesn't make sense, like that piece just hanging over there in space. Amazing, amazing interior graphics, interior view of this ship. Here I am. I'm probably committing suicide at this point. Look, here we are flying almost dead into, and we're trying to get away. We can't. We can't, and we're probably going to die going into it. We're going backwards for some reason. I think we decoupled by accident for that one. I keep forgetting where I mapped the decouple button to. So let's close this out, alright? The Super Hornet is the premier fighter that you can buy inside of Star Citizen at this particular point. It's not for sale all the time. It's one of those limited sales that come around once or twice a year. Who is this fighter for? It's for someone that wants to fly aggressively, but really This is one of those fighters that go out in 2 or 3 and just decimate an opponent. Inside of Arena Commander, it's fun to fly aggressively, but remember, any damage you take is definitely going to affect you detrimentally, in some ways more so than a lighter craft, being that it is so heavy and so big and so hard to maneuver with a thruster or 2 out. The thing that drew me into it was why this fighter was built. The whole lore behind it was the one thing that attracted me to it. I love the fact that they took something that was mostly military and put it into the civilian world. Now, it was supposed to be replacing lower cost ships, but those ships really don't cost much less. $100 for a Cutlass Black, $140 for the blue. You're talking about $40 more. So if you're going to pick one up in game, it shouldn't be much more expensive in UEC than something like a Cutlass Blue when they're around for everyone to purchase. And there you have my F7C M Super Hornet review. If you like this video, please remember to click the thumbs up button below and please share it. We're getting closer and closer to that 2,000 viewer mark. Well folks, with that said, you all be safe out there, and I'll talk to you soon.